You already know what you did last night. You told yourself you wouldn't. You sat with it for an hour, maybe two. You put the phone face down on the table. You made a deal with yourself. And then, somewhere around midnight, with the blue light of your screen cutting shadows across your ceiling, you picked it up. You found the conversation. You typed something. Maybe you sent it. Maybe you deleted it 3 times and then sent it anyway. That version of you. That is who this is for. Not the version of you that has it together. Not the morning version. The one who makes coffee and tells yourself today is different. The other one. The one who sits in a dark apartment at 2 a.m. with rain tapping against the window like it has something to say, staring at a read receipt that hasn't changed in 4 days. That version of you is in pain. Real pain. The kind that doesn't show up on any scan, doesn't respond to sleep, doesn't care that it's a Tuesday. The kind that lives in your chest like a stone you swallowed and can't cough back up. And here is the part that nobody is saying out loud. That pain isn't just about them. It's about who you became when you were with them. The habits you built around a person. The morning routine that had their name in it. The inside jokes that now sit in your head with nowhere to go. You didn't just lose a relationship. You lost a version of your daily life. And your nervous system doesn't know the difference between grief and withdrawal. So it reaches. It texts. It checks their Instagram at 11:47 p.m., not because you expect anything new, but because the silence on your own side of the room is louder than you can stand. How many times did you check their profile today? Not because you wanted to, because you needed to make the noise in your head stop for just 1 second. That's not weakness, but it is a trap, and you are standing in it right now, with the teeth already closed around your ankle. This hour is going to do something specific for you, not comfort you, not tell you that everything happens for a reason, because that is something people say when they have nothing real to offer. This is going to give you something harder and more useful than comfort. It is going to give you a different place to stand. Ancient ground. The kind that doesn't shift when someone stops calling you back. The Stoics, the men who built their minds inside war camps and slave quarters and dying empires, they understood something about this particular kind of suffering. They knew what it meant to want something you cannot have, to reach for something that no longer reaches back. They didn't run from that pain. They looked directly at it. And then they asked a question that will feel like cold water thrown in your face. The question isn't, why did they leave? The question is, who are you when they're gone? Right now, before this goes any further, I want you to do one thing. Stop scrolling. Stop. Type this into the comments below. I will not be rebuilt by someone who left. I will be rebuilt by someone who stayed. Myself. Write it. Own it. Let every like on that comment be a reminder of the promise you are making right now, in the dark, to the only person who has never actually left you. Because this next part is where we find out if you are ready to stop hurting yourself with the one weapon they left behind when they walked out. Their absence, and what you are still doing with it. The trap, why your brain turned them into a god. Pay close attention to this. It will save you years. The year is 1916. Somewhere in the mud and wire of the Western Front, a British signals officer named Thomas sits inside a command bunker. The walls are sandbags and wet earth. A single gas lamp hangs from a hook overhead, swinging slightly every time artillery shakes the ground above. The air smells of damp wool, kerosene, and something older, the kind of rot that gets into the wood and never leaves. On the table in front of Thomas is a photograph. He has looked at it 40 times today, maybe more. His fingers have worn the edges soft. The woman in the photograph is back in Birmingham. She is not dead. She is not lost. She simply wrote a letter, 3 weeks ago, that said she had found someone else. That was all. 4 sentences. And now Thomas sits in a bunker where men are dying above him. And he cannot stop staring at a photograph of a woman who is, at this exact moment, having dinner in a warm house, unbothered. The shells shake the ceiling. He doesn't flinch. But when he looks at that photograph, his hands go still and his chest tightens like a vice. Here is what nobody told Thomas. And here is what nobody has told you. His brain did not keep a record of her. His brain built a monument to her. There is a difference. A record is the truth. A monument is what you made of the truth after the pain started rewriting the facts. Your brain, under the pressure of loss, does something it was never designed to stop doing. It edits. It removes the ordinary moments, the small irritations, the silences that felt slightly wrong, the times you felt alone in a room you were both in. It keeps the good frames and burns the rest. And then it plays those frames on a loop, and it calls that loop a person. But that loop is not a person. That loop is a story you wrote in a moment of grief. And you have been worshiping that story ever since. Epictetus knew this. A man who was born a slave, who had his leg broken by his own master, who owned nothing but the ground he stood on. He said, "Men are disturbed not by the things which happen, but by the opinions about the things." Read that slowly. Sit with it. He is not saying your pain is not real. He is saying the version of them that is destroying you right now, that perfect, irreplaceable, once-in-a-lifetime version, that is not them. That is your opinion of them. That is the monument your grief built in the dark, without your permission, while you were sleeping. The real person had flaws. Specific ones. The kind you already know if you stop letting the monument block your view. But here is the part nobody talks about. The monument is comfortable. That is the trap. Because as long as you are worshiping someone, you do not have to face the empty altar where you should be standing yourself. Think about what you have done with their memory. You have given it a throne inside your head. You have made it the measuring stick for everything. Every good moment measured against moments with them. Every new face measured against their face. You walk into a room and wonder if they would have liked it. You hear a song and think of them before you think of yourself. You are living in a house where someone else's ghost sits at the head of the table. That is not love surviving. That is you refusing to call a monument what it is. Stone, cold, immovable, and completely unable to love you back. Thomas, in that bunker, finally put the photograph face down on the table. Not because he stopped feeling something, but because a shell had just hit 30 meters away, and in the ringing silence that followed, he heard himself think a thought that cut through everything. He thought, "I am going to die in this mud staring at a piece of paper." Not a person, a piece of paper. And in that one brutal second of clarity, the monument cracked. That is what you need. Not more time. Not another conversation with them. Not closure, which is just another word for permission to move on. Permission only you can actually give yourself. You need the crack in the monument. So here is exactly what you are going to do. Tonight, before you sleep, take a piece of paper. Not your phone. Paper. And write down 3 things they actually did that hurt you. Not to be bitter. Not to build a case. But because your brain has been running an edited film, and it is time to put the deleted scenes back in. 3 specific things. Real ones. The ones you have been excusing and minimizing and softening in your memory because the monument needed to stay perfect. Write them down. Look at them. And then say this out loud to no one. That was a person, not a god. A person. Because the moment you stop worshiping them, something shifts in the room. The throne is suddenly empty. And for the first time in however long this has been going on, there is space. Real space. Where you can finally sit down and start asking the only question that ever mattered. Not who were they, but who are you without the weight of them. But knowing this alone is not enough. Because there is something even more dangerous than the monument itself. And that is the habit you built to keep feeding it. The shift. What the Stoics knew about love that nobody tells you. Pay close attention to this. It will save you years. There is a habit. Not the habit of thinking about them. Deeper than that. It is the habit of needing love to come from outside you to feel like it counts. You learned it young. You didn't choose it. But right now, at whatever hour this is reaching you, that habit is running your entire life. It decides who you text, what you check, what you cannot stop replaying at 3 a.m. when the ceiling offers nothing but silence and the phone screen is the only fire left in the room. And the Stoics saw it. All of it. Centuries before the algorithm knew your weakness. There is a woman named Mara, 29 years old. A 3rd-floor apartment in a city that never actually sleeps. It just gets quieter and colder. She had been with him for 4 years. When it ended, she did what most people do. She kept the wound open by touching it. Every morning, coffee going cold on the counter, steam rising and disappearing, and Mara already on his Instagram before her feet hit the floor. Not because she expected anything good, because the pain of seeing something was smaller than the terror of seeing nothing. The nothing was too loud. She started running. Not for health, to outrun the 6 a.m. thoughts that came before she was awake enough to block them. Earphones in, wet pavement, the city just beginning to shrug itself alive. Streetlights still on, orange and cold, reflected in the black puddles on the road. Her breath making small clouds in the dark. 3 weeks in, she was running past a construction site when she slipped. Nothing serious. Grazed hands, a bruised knee, pride taking the worst of it. She sat on the wet curb, hands stinging, and she started laughing. Actually laughing, because she realized she had just run 6 kilometers without thinking about him once. Not because she stopped loving what they had, because she had given her body something real to feel. That is the first thing the Stoics knew about love that nobody tells you. The body will follow the mind, but sometimes you have to lead with the body first. Epictetus said this. He said it plainly, without decoration. Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens. What does that mean in plain language? It means stop trying to control the part you cannot touch. You cannot control whether they think about you. You cannot control whether they regret it, whether they lie awake, whether they have already moved on or are pretending to. That territory is completely outside your hands. What is in your hands? Your feet on the pavement, the cold water on your face at 6 a.m., the 3 minutes you breathe before you pick up the phone. Most people try to fix the grief from the inside out. Feeling first, action second. The Stoics did it the other way. But here is the part nobody talks about. The second thing the Stoics knew is harder. And it is this: you did not just lose them. You lost the version of yourself that existed inside the relationship. That version had a role, had a shape, had a reason to wake up that was connected to another person's need for you. And now that shape is gone. The role was cut. And you are standing in the wreckage of an identity, not just a relationship. This is why the grief feels too big for the person. Because part of what you are mourning is yourself. Seneca wrote it in a letter, written late, written to a friend who had lost something he could not name. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And he was right, but not in the way self-help posters make it sound. He did not mean the pain is not real. He meant that the mind builds a future full of the person, a future where they were supposed to be, and then it mourns that future as if it already happened. You are not just grieving what was. You are grieving an entire invented life that never got to exist. The apartment you two would have shared. The arguments you would have figured out. The ordinary Tuesday evenings that never arrived. You are crying over rooms that were never built. That realization hits like cold water on a burning face. Because the moment you see it, the weight rearranges itself. It does not disappear, but it moves. The grief becomes less about them specifically, and more about the territory inside you that they occupied. And territory can be reclaimed. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Not peace, not happiness. Strength. The man who wrote that was running an empire while his children died, and his generals betrayed him, and his body was failing him. He was not writing a motivational quote. He was writing a survival instruction. The strength is not in stopping the pain. The strength is in refusing to let the pain write the next chapter. So here is exactly what you are going to do. Not tomorrow. Tonight. Sit somewhere without a screen. Your kitchen. A park bench. The floor if that is what you have. Somewhere the city noise is just background, not distraction. And ask yourself this, out loud if you can manage it. What did I bring into this relationship that was already mine before they arrived? What skill? What laugh? What specific way of seeing the world that existed before their name was in your phone? Write down 2 things. Just 2. Not a list of achievements. Specific things. The way you remember directions by landmarks instead of street names. The fact that you always know when rain is coming before the sky shows it. Small things. Real things. Because those 2 things did not leave when they did. They are still in your hands. Right now. In the dark. In the quiet. In the gap between who you were with them and who you are becoming without them. The Stoics did not teach that love is a mistake. They taught that placing the whole weight of your worth inside another person is the mistake. Because people leave. People change. People are never completely yours to keep. But the thing you are, the actual irreducible thing, that cannot be taken by anyone's exit. Now that you understand this, the real question opens up. Because recovering what is yours is only the beginning. What you do with it next, how you move without the weight of the monument, without the habit, without the borrowed identity, that is where the work actually starts. And that is where most people, even the ones who got this far, finally stop. Do not stop. Weapon 1. The corpse of the relationship, seeing it without the filter. This next part might make you uncomfortable. Good. Picture a wartime command room. Somewhere in northern France, 1944. A general stands over a long table covered in maps. The maps are marked with red lines, blue lines, arrows, and numbers. The room smells of cigarette smoke and cold coffee and the kind of fear that hides behind straight posture. His name is not important. What matters is what he is doing. He is not looking at what he wants the map to say. He is not looking at what he hoped the advance would look like by now. He is reading the map as it is. Every lost position circled in red. Every retreating unit marked with brutal honesty. The road that was supposed to be clear. It is not clear. He knows it. He writes it down. A younger officer stands beside him. Nervous. Loyal. He says, quietly, "Sir, we could still hold the eastern line if we..." The general stops him with one word. No. Not cruel. Not cold. Just exact. He has seen commanders before him lose entire divisions because they could not read their own map without adjusting it first. Because they loved the plan more than they loved the truth. Because the picture they had built in their mind, the beautiful, clean picture of how this was supposed to go, was more comfortable than the ruined, honest reality on the table in front of them. He traces the real line with his finger. Slow. Without flinching. That is the only way he survives the night. Now, that relationship you are still carrying. You have a map of it too. And I need you to ask yourself, right now, without shifting in your seat and without looking away, when did you last look at that map honestly? Not the version you tell people at dinner. Not the story that makes you the one who tried harder. Not the edited reel your brain plays at 2 in the morning where everything was almost perfect, where the good days stretch out and the bad days compress into something small and forgivable. The real map. The actual territory. Seneca wrote it plainly. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Read that again slowly. He is not saying your pain is not real. He is saying that the thing torturing you right now is not the relationship that actually existed. It is the relationship your mind has rebuilt since the end. Polished, selective, softened in all the places that were hard, and sharpened in all the places that were warm. You are not mourning what was. You are mourning what you wished it had been. And those are two completely different bodies. Here is the part nobody talks about. When a relationship ends, the mind does something automatic. It is not weakness. It is not stupidity. It is biology. Your brain begins to archive the pain and amplify the warmth. Because the warmth is safe to replay. The pain costs too much to look at directly. So it edits, frame by frame, day by day, until what you are grieving is not a person who sometimes made you feel small or ignored, but like you were always auditioning for a role you never fully got. You are grieving a monument, something enormous and clean and made of marble, something that never actually existed. That general in his command room in France. He saved lives by reading the map as it was, not as he wished it had gone, not as his superiors back in London had planned it on paper 6 months earlier. As it was. Right now, in this moment, I am asking you to do the same thing. Pick one year. One specific year inside that relationship. Not the best one. Not the worst. Just one. And sit in the reality of it. Not the highlight. The actual year. The arguments you do not tell anyone about. The week one of you went silent, and the other one pretended not to notice. The compromise you made that you told yourself was fine when it was not fine. The moment you looked at them across a table and felt, for just a second, completely alone. That happened. It was real, and it belongs in the map. But here's the part that gets dangerous. This is not about building a case against them. You are not a prosecutor. This is not about flipping the monument from hero to villain, because that is just the same addiction in a different costume. The person who spends years hating an ex is just as trapped as the person who spends years idolizing one. Both of them are still in the room. Both of them are still giving that relationship all of their present energy. You are not doing either. You are doing something harder. You are seeing it as it actually was. Complex, real, good in places, broken in places. Not a monument, not a crime scene. A relationship between two human beings who were both, at various points, limited. That is all it was. That is allowed to be enough. Epictetus said this. He said it without apology. Men are disturbed not by the things which happen, but by the opinions about the things. The breakup happened. That part is done. What is still happening? What is still eating at your sleep and pulling at your focus and sitting heavy behind your ribs is the story you are telling yourself about what it meant, the meaning you have attached to it, the verdict you have written, the opinion. Change the opinion and you change the weight. Not by lying to yourself, not by pretending it was nothing, but by seeing it clearly enough that it stops being larger than life. When you see something clearly, it becomes its actual size. And its actual size, whatever this specific relationship was, is smaller than the monument your grief has made it. Most people stop here. Do not be most people. Here is exactly what you are going to do. Tonight. Not tomorrow. Tonight. You are going to get a piece of paper. Not your phone. Paper. And you are going to write at the top what this relationship actually was. Not what it could have been. Not what it was on the 3 best days. Not what it was on the worst day when everything broke apart. What it actually was. Averaged out. Lived in. Whole. Write 3 true things. One that was genuinely good. One that was genuinely hard. One that you knew was a problem and chose not to say out loud. Just 3. No more. You are not writing a novel. You are reading a map. Then fold it. Put it away. You are not going to share it. You are not writing it for anyone but the general in that command room. The one who has to know where the real line is before he can make any real decision. Because until you can see the relationship without the filter, every decision you make going forward is built on a lie. Every new person you meet gets compared to a monument that never existed. Every moment alone feels like a punishment because you are mourning something that was already, in reality, incomplete. The map is the first weapon. Read it right, and everything that comes next has a foundation. But knowing the shape of the thing is not the same as knowing what to do with the ache it left behind. Because the map tells you where you are. It does not tell you what to do with the wreckage that is still inside you. The anger that has no address. The grief that shows up without warning in the middle of ordinary afternoons. That is a different kind of work. And it is the work we are moving into next. Weapon 2. The ownership autopsy. Cutting the lie that they completed you. The anger has an address. You just do not want to read it yet. Picture the Forum on a cold Roman morning. Senators in white wool moving through the mist, breath rising like smoke. The cobblestones still wet from rain. A young legionnaire stands at the edge of the crowd, not watching the debate. Watching a woman across the square. She is laughing with someone else. He has watched her walk through that market every morning for 2 years. He told himself, quietly, in the way men tell themselves things they will never say aloud, that she was the reason the days felt worth surviving. She was not cruel to him. She simply did not know he existed. And yet, when she disappeared from view around a marble column, something in him collapsed. Something that felt like loss. Something that felt, if you pressed him, like the end of meaning itself. He did not lose her. He never had her. What he lost was the story he had been building around her. The architecture of a future that lived entirely inside his own skull. That is the lie, and it is not small. Here is the part nobody talks about in the aftermath of a real relationship. One where there was genuine love, genuine history, genuine weight. You do not just grieve the person. You grieve the version of yourself that only seemed to exist when they were present. That is the real wreckage. That is what the ache is made of, not them. The story you told yourself about who you became when they were standing next to you. The idea that their presence was the condition. That without them, you are somehow less than the person you were becoming. That is not love. That is a dependency dressed in the language of love. And you need to cut it open. Right now, in front of yourself. With no mercy and no comfort. Epictetus was a slave. Not metaphorically. Literally owned. His master once twisted his leg to the point of breaking, just to prove a point about power. Epictetus looked at him and said, calmly, that the leg would break. And when it broke, Epictetus did not scream. He simply said, "Did I not tell you it would break?" He was not performing strength. He was demonstrating something terrifying and exact. Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. Epictetus said that. A man with a broken leg and no legal ownership of his own body said that. What he meant is this: the only thing you ever truly own is your judgment, your response, your interpretation of what is happening to you. Everything else, the person, the relationship, the sense of being completed by another human being, that was always borrowed, always passing through, always going to be handed back. You never owned the feeling they gave you. You generated it, inside yourself, using them as the reason. But the generator was always yours. Now pay attention. This is the real lesson. When they left, nothing was taken from you that was actually yours. What collapsed was an agreement you had made with yourself without knowing it. The agreement said, "I am the full version of myself only when this person exists in my life." And when the agreement broke, you interpreted it as loss, as proof of incompleteness. But you were not incomplete before them. You were simply someone who had not yet met the story you were about to tell yourself. That story was the cage, not them. Think about the legionnaire again, standing in the forum, the cold coming off the stone, the smell of garlic and olive oil from a vendor nearby, bread burning on the other side of the square. He had two choices in that moment. He could keep building the architecture of a woman who did not know his name, keep assigning his sense of worth to whether or not she turned in his direction, keep mistaking the ache of wanting for the reality of belonging. Or he could perform the autopsy. An autopsy does not mourn what it finds. It identifies it, names it, marks it clearly for what it is. The ownership autopsy asks one question, and it is not gentle. What did you actually own in this relationship, and what did you simply borrow and then mistake for oxygen? Here is what you borrowed. You borrowed the feeling of being chosen, the warmth of existing in someone's specific line of sight, the way ordinary evenings felt different when another person was in the room, the sense that your life had a witness. Those are real. Those mattered. But they were not evidence that you required that specific person to generate them. They were evidence that you were capable of depth, of connection, of meaning. The source of those feelings was always internal. They had a face. They had a name. But the machinery that produced them was yours, has always been yours, is still running right now, whether you feel it or not. And this is where it gets dangerous. Because most people stop at the grief and never ask the harder question. They spend months, sometimes years, trying to recover the feeling rather than reclaim the generator. They chase the feeling in new people too soon. Or they shut down completely, locking the generator in a room with no windows, calling that protection. Neither of these is the answer. The answer is the autopsy. Clean, precise, honest. Seneca wrote it like a blade to the throat. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. What you are carrying right now is largely a structure you built in your mind. The best version of them, assembled from selected memories. The version that showed up on the 3 best days. The voice in your head that sounds like them when you are trying to make a decision. The imagined future that you lost, which, let's be exact about this, never existed anywhere except inside you. None of that is them. That is you. That has always been you. And you can keep grieving the monument, or you can dismantle it, stone by stone, and use the material to build something real. So here is the question I need you to sit with. Put it in the comments. Actually answer it. When you strip away the good days, the idea of the future you imagined, and the feeling of being chosen, what is one specific thing you now own about yourself that you built entirely without them? Not a compliment, not a memory. Something you know you are, or something you know you can do that exists inside you independent of their presence. Write it, right now, in the comments below. Because that thing, whatever you just thought of, that is not what they gave you. That is what you already were. Do not close this autopsy gently. Close it the way a Roman physician closed an examination. With clarity, with record, with the cold acknowledgement that the body tells only truth if you are willing to look. You were not completed by them. You were accompanied, temporarily, as all company is temporary. And companionship, however real, however good, however devastating to lose, does not define the architecture of what you are made of. You were whole before the story began. But here is what that wholeness does not protect you from. The thoughts. Specifically, the ones that come at 2 in the morning when the room is dark and your own mind becomes your worst enemy. That is the next thing we are going into. And it is where most people lose the war entirely. Weapon 3. The phantom pain protocol. Grieving what was real versus what you invented. It is 2 in the morning. The room is dark. The phone screen is the only light in the apartment, and you are not reading anything. You are scrolling, not looking for information, looking for a feeling that used to live inside your chest and does not anymore. And somewhere in that scroll, a memory surfaces. Not even a real memory. A feeling attached to a moment. The way they laughed at something you said. The way a Saturday morning used to feel. The way you imagined, with absolute certainty, that this was going to be the shape of your life. And the pain hits you like a fist. But here is the part nobody talks about. That fist, a significant portion of it, is hitting you from inside a dream you built yourself. Not from reality. From the fiction your mind constructed around reality. And until you learn the difference between the two, you will grieve forever. Not because the loss was infinite, because you are mourning something that never fully existed. This is the phantom pain protocol. A surgeon named David Chen once worked with veterans who had lost limbs in combat. He described something that shook him when he first encountered it. A soldier would wake in the night, screaming, not from a wound that was there, from pain in a hand that was gone. The nerve endings remembered the shape of something that no longer existed. The body could not distinguish between the memory of a limb and the limb itself. The signal fired the same way. The agony was completely real, and the source was completely gone. That is you right now, sitting in that dark apartment. The blue light of the phone screen carving shadows under your eyes at 2 a.m. You are screaming from a phantom limb. The pain is real. Do not let anyone tell you it is not. But the thing you are screaming for, the specific version of it that your mind keeps replaying, that is not always what existed. Part of it was real, and part of it was a story you wrote yourself, then handed to them to live inside. Seneca wrote this, and you need to hear it slowly. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. He did not write that to insult your pain. He wrote it as a map. He was telling you that the human mind does not simply record experience. It rewrites it. It edits it. It upgrades it after the loss, because the mind cannot tolerate the idea that something ordinary slipped away. So it makes the lost thing extraordinary. It inflates the good. It erases the ordinary Tuesday afternoons where nothing special happened. It erases the tension that sat in the room sometimes, unnamed. It erases the version of them that frustrated you, confused you, or left you feeling smaller than you should have felt. It keeps the highlight reel, and it plays it on a loop at 2 a.m. against your own skull. And you grieve that highlight reel as if it were the whole person, as if it were the whole relationship. It was not. Here is where it gets dangerous, because you are not just mourning them. You are mourning a version of the future that never existed. A house that was never built. Children that were never born. A Saturday 10 years from now that lived entirely in your imagination. You are standing at the grave of a ghost. And the grave is real. The grief is real. But the body in the coffin, part of it, you built with your own hands, in the quiet hours when hope ran ahead of evidence. This does not mean the relationship was a lie. It does not mean what you felt was fake. It means you were human. You projected. You extrapolated. You did what all people do when they love someone. You wrote the next chapter before it happened. And now you are grieving the chapter that was never written. If this is cutting through something in you right now, do one thing. Hit subscribe. Not for me. For the version of you that needs this kind of clarity next week and the week after that. Now, the protocol. This is not philosophy. This is surgery. And you are going to do it tonight. Take a piece of paper, not a phone. Paper. Something that resists editing. Draw a line down the center. On the left side, right, what was actually real. On the right side, right, what I invented. On the left side, you are only allowed to write things that happened. Specific moments. Specific words that were said. Specific actions, either toward you or away from you. Things a camera would have recorded. Not feelings. Facts. On the right side, you write the projections. The imagined future. The version of them you believe they were becoming. The potential you kept betting on. The relationship you were trying to build that they were not building with you. The Saturday, 10 years from now. Most people who do this exercise are shocked. Not because the left side is empty. The left side has real things on it. Things worth grieving. Moments that were genuinely good. A connection that was genuinely there. But the right side is enormous. And that is where most of your pain lies. Not in the loss of what was real. In the loss of what you imagined might become real. In the shattering of a projection you spent months or years feeding energy into. The right side is the phantom limb. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, the one he never intended anyone to read, these words: "Confine yourself to the present." For words, that is all, but sit inside them for a moment. He was not telling you to be cold. He was telling you where reality lives. Reality does not live in the imagined future you built with someone. It does not live in the version of them you were hoping would eventually show up. It lives in what actually happened, in what was actually said, in what actually existed between two real people on a real afternoon before your mind decorated it with everything it wanted the story to become. When you grieve only what was real, something changes. The grief becomes smaller. Not easier, necessarily, but smaller, more honest, more contained, because you are no longer trying to bury a mountain. You are burying what the relationship actually was, which had real weight, real meaning, and also real limits. The real grief ends, because real things are finite. The phantom grief does not end on its own, because imagination has no limits. You can invent loss forever if you do not cut the signal. But here is what the protocol does not do. It does not erase the left side, and you should not want it to. The things that were real, the moments that actually happened, the genuine connection, the parts that were good and true, those deserve to be mourned fully, completely, with every gram of weight they earned. Cry for those. Sit with those. Let them matter, because they did matter. And pretending they did not is its own kind of lie. The Stoics were not people without feeling. Marcus Aurelius lost children. He lost friends. He wrote about grief with the hands of someone who had held it. He did not tell you to stop feeling. He told you to stop adding to the fire with material that was not even real wood. Grieve what was real, with full force, with full honesty, and then, one by one, dissolve what you invented. Not with anger, not with bitterness, with clarity, because the phantom pain, however loud it screams, is a signal from a limb that is not there. And the first step to stopping the signal is admitting what was real and what was a story you told yourself in the dark. Tonight, before you sleep, do this. Write 3 things that were genuinely real in that relationship. 3 specific moments, words, or actions, things that actually happened. Then write 3 things that existed only in your imagination. 3 projections. 3 chapters you wrote alone. Look at both lists. Grieve the first one, fully. Give it the weight it deserves. And then fold the second list in half. Put it somewhere you will not look at it for 48 hours. Not because you are erasing it, because you are putting distance between your nervous system and a signal that was never coming from reality in the first place. The nerve endings will stop firing. Slowly. Not tonight. But they will stop. Because you cannot build a future on a phantom. And you cannot heal from a wound you keep reopening with your own imagination. Now you know the difference. But knowing the difference is only half of it. Because there is still a voice. A specific voice. One that does not need the memory or the projection to cause damage. It operates on something older and darker and more personal. And that voice has one target. One only. You. That is where we go next. And if you thought this part was hard, you need to be ready. Weapon 4. The silence diet. Why going quiet is the most violent thing you can do for yourself. Pay close attention to this. It will save you years. There is a wartime command room somewhere in the winter of 1944. The walls are papered with maps. Pins stick out of Belgium, Luxembourg, the frozen edges of the Ardennes forest. Radio static fills the air like a living thing, crackling and hissing, never stopping. Officers shout coordinates over one another. Phones ring. Messengers push through the door with papers already wet from the cold outside. General Anthony McAuliffe sits at the center of this noise. Not moving, not raising his voice, not reaching for the radio. His men are surrounded. encircled by German panzer divisions in the middle of Bastogne. Ammunition running low. Food nearly gone. The cold alone is killing soldiers before the bullets can. And the Germans have sent a formal demand: surrender or be annihilated. The room waits. Every officer in that command room is watching him. Some of them are terrified. Some of them are already calculating the cost of saying yes. McAuliffe picks up the pen. He writes one word: nuts. That is not recklessness. That is not bravado. That is what happens when a man has gone so deep into silence that the noise of the world around him loses its power. When everything outside is screaming at you to react, to speak, to beg, to answer, the most devastating thing you can do is say nothing, or say so little that the enemy does not know what to do with it. That is the silence diet. And after a breakup, silence is not passive. Silence is not soft. Silence is the most violent, most disciplined thing you can choose to do for yourself. Here is what most people do instead. They text. One message that becomes three. Three that become a paragraph sent at 2 in the morning. They post something on their story that they tell themselves is for other people, but is aimed at one specific face. They reach out to mutual friends and ask casual questions that are not casual at all. They check the profile once, then again 6 minutes later. Then they put the phone down and pick it up again before the screen even goes dark. How many times did you check your phone in the last hour? Not because you expected anything real, because the silence was louder than you could stand. That is not grief. That is noise management. You are using their presence, even a digital ghost of their presence, as a volume dial. Something to turn up so you do not have to sit with the actual frequency of your own mind. And every time you do it, you restart the clock. Every single time. Epictetus was born a slave, not a metaphor. A literal slave in Rome, owned by a man named Epictetus. His leg was broken by his owner, deliberately, as a demonstration of power. And Epictetus looked up at the man breaking his leg and said, calmly, that if he kept going, it would break. The leg broke. Epictetus did not scream, did not beg, did not send a message in the night asking why this was happening. He went quiet. Inside, he later said, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. What is in your power right now is not their response. Not whether they miss you, not what they are doing tonight, or who they are with, or whether they have thought about you today. None of that is yours. None of that was ever yours. What is yours is the silence you choose, the message you do not send, the profile you do not visit, the story you do not post for an audience of one. That restraint, that discipline, that is your power. And every time you exercise it, you get stronger. And every time you break it, you go back to the beginning. But here is the part nobody talks about. The silence is not just about them. The silence is about you. When you go quiet on the outside, you are forced to hear the inside. And for most people, that is the real terror. Not the person they lost. Not the empty side of the bed. It is the voice that fills the space when there is no noise to drown it with. That voice tells you things. Some of those things are lies. Some of them are truths you have been avoiding since before this relationship even started. The silence diet does not just cut off contact with them. It cuts off contact with every distraction you have been using to avoid that voice. The television on in the background. The podcast playing while you cook. The music loud enough to make thinking impossible. The scroll, the feed, the endless ticker tape of other people's lives feeding your eyes so your brain does not have to sit still. Silence means all of that goes quiet. And what rises up from the bottom of that stillness is yours to face. Marcus Aurelius ruled the largest empire on earth. He commanded armies. He signed death warrants. He held the fate of millions inside one decision. And every single morning, before the court filled with noise, before the petitions and the flattery and the crises, he sat in silence and wrote. Not to publish, not to be seen, not to perform grief or wisdom for anyone watching, just to hear himself think. He wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. One sentence, no wasted words. The weight of a man who had learned that the quieter he became inside, the clearer the world outside appeared. You are not Marcus Aurelius. You do not need to be, but you need what he practiced. The silence is where you find out what you actually think, not what you have been performing, not the grief you have been curating, not the version of yourself you put on when someone might be watching. The real thing, the raw thing, the thing underneath. If this is hitting different right now, do one thing for me. Hit that subscribe button. Not for me, for the version of you that needs this reminder next week, when the urge to send the message comes back at midnight. Now here is the action, and it is harder than it sounds. For the next 7 days, you are going on the silence diet. That means no contact, not one message, not one look at their profile, not one indirect signal through a story or a post or a mutual friend. 0. And it means something more. Every night, for 20 minutes, you sit in actual silence. No phone, no screen, no sound. You sit, you breathe, you let whatever comes up come up. You do not have to fix it. You do not have to understand it. You do not have to write it down or analyze it or share it with anyone. You just sit there and let it exist without running from it. The first night will feel like a prison. The second night will feel like a storm. By the fourth night, something will start to shift. Not because the pain disappears, because you will have proven something to yourself. You will have proven that the silence does not kill you. And the thing you are most afraid of never kills you. It only has power when you keep running before you have to face it. McAuliffe did not surrender Bastogne. His army held. The relief forces broke through on December 26th. The silence held the line until the strength arrived. Now that you know this, there is one more weapon. And it is not about what you cut off. It is about what you build. Because silence without direction is just an empty room. And an empty room without a purpose is just a place where old ghosts feel at home. What you put into that silence determines everything that comes next. Weapon 5. The rebuild blueprint. Reclaiming the identity you sacrificed for them. Pay close attention to this. It will save you years. Because this is the part most people skip. They do the silence. They survive the storm. They make it through the sleepless nights and the shaking hands and the moment at 2 a.m. when they almost broke and sent the message. And then they stop. They declare themselves healed. They walk back out into the world wearing the same face they had before. The same habits. The same reflexes. The same hollow spaces where their identity used to be. And 6 months later, they are standing in the exact same fire with a different person's name on it. That is not healing. That is recycling pain. Picture the agora of Athens on a hot afternoon. The sun hammering the white stone. The smell of salted fish and spilled wine and animal dung from the merchant stalls. 1,000 voices arguing over weight, price, territory. The noise of it is physical. It presses against your chest like a hand. Now picture a young man named Demetrios, 23 years old, standing at the edge of that market. He has just ended something. Or rather, something ended him. 3 years with a woman his entire family knew. 3 years of shaping himself around her preferences, her moods, her family's expectations. He stopped visiting his wrestling instructor because she did not like the hours. He stopped writing in his journal because she called it self-indulgent. He stopped spending time with the one philosopher whose words had once made him feel alive. A quiet man named Ariston who taught in the shade of 2 olive trees near the western wall. Demetrios had not noticed any of it happening. That is the thing. You never do. You do not wake up one morning and announce that you are going to erase yourself. It happens in small surrenders. A preference quietly dropped. A passion quietly shelved. A name quietly removed from your schedule. One concession at a time. Until one day you look in a still pool of water and the face looking back is someone you vaguely recognize but cannot fully name. Here is the real damage a relationship can do. Not the pain of the ending. The pain of the ending is loud and obvious and eventually manageable. The real damage is quieter. It is the inventory of everything you gave up to make the relationship work. Everything you bent, folded, or silenced about yourself. The interests you abandoned. The ambitions you dialed down. The friends you slowly stopped calling. The version of yourself that existed before you oriented your entire life around another person. And here is the part nobody talks about. That version of you did not die. It went dormant. It is sitting underneath the rubble like a seed under winter ground, waiting for someone to clear the debris and let the light back in. But it will not resurrect itself on its own. You have to go looking for it. Deliberately. like an archaeologist digging through collapsed stone. Epictetus said it plainly. He said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Read that again slowly. First, decide who you are, then act accordingly. He was not talking about a far-off future version of yourself. He was talking about right now, today. The identity you carry into this moment is a choice, not a result. Most people believe the opposite. They believe who they are is something that happens to them, something shaped by circumstances, by relationships, by what other people need from them. And for years, that belief feels harmless, until one relationship ends and they look up and realize they have been building their identity on rented land. Now pay attention. This is the real lesson. When Demetrios walked back through the agora that afternoon, he did not start by asking what he wanted from the future. He started by asking one smaller question. What did I stop doing when I met her? He sat with that question under the olive trees where Ariston still taught, on a stone bench worn smooth by 200 years of students. He could hear the harbor from there, ropes straining against cleats, gulls calling. Somewhere across the water, a galley was being loaded for a run to Corinth. He pulled out a piece of wax tablet, and he wrote 3 things. The wrestling, the journal, the philosophy lessons. 3 things he had surrendered in small, quiet moments he had told himself did not matter. He went back to the wrestling instructor the next morning, not because he thought it would fix him, because it was his. It belonged to him before her. It would belong to him after. That is the blueprint, not a grand reinvention, not a new person from scratch. A recovery of the person who was already there before you handed pieces of yourself away to keep the peace. Tonight, before you sleep, you are going to do one thing. Get a piece of paper, not your phone, paper. At the top, write this question: what did I stop doing, stop being, or stop wanting because of this relationship? Do not rush it. Sit with it for 10 minutes. Write whatever comes. Hobbies, friendships, goals, ways of speaking, ways of moving through the world. Things you used to love that slowly disappeared from your life, like smoke through a crack in the wall. Then circle one thing on that list. Just one. The thing that, when you look at it, gives you a small, quiet ache. Not a dramatic ache. A quiet one. The ache of something that was yours and got left behind. Tomorrow, you take one step back toward it. One step. You do not reclaim your entire identity in a week, but you plant the first marker in the ground that says, "This belongs to me, and I am coming back for it." Demetrios returned to Ariston's lessons every morning for 3 months. By the end, he had not forgotten the woman. He had simply become too full of himself to be hollowed out by her absence. That is what you are building. Not a wall, not armor, not distance. Fullness. A life so dense with things that belong to you that the empty space left by one person stops being a void and starts being just a room you no longer need to enter. Seneca wrote this near the end of his life, in a letter that smelled of lamp oil and Roman winter. Retire into yourself as much as you can. Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those who you are capable of improving. He meant it practically. The people around you, the habits inside you, the hours of your day, they are either pulling you back toward the old identity that served someone else, or they are pulling you forward toward the one that serves you. Choose the ones that pull forward. Every day, without drama, without announcement. You do not need to declare a new life. You just need to take back what was always yours. One item on the list. One step tomorrow. One morning at a time. The empty room the silence created is not meant to stay empty. It is meant to be filled with you. The real you. The one who existed before you started shrinking to fit someone else's expectations. Go find that person. They have been waiting longer than you know. But knowing who to reclaim is only half the war. Because the other half is learning what to do when the world and the memories and the old voice in your chest tries to drag you back into the wreckage you just walked out of. The final boss, forgiveness as a weapon, not a gift to them. Pay close attention to this. It will save you years. Because this is the part every breakup video gets wrong. Every motivational speaker, every self-help post, every well-meaning friend who sat across from you at 2 in the morning while the city outside was nothing but rain and neon and the sound of a taxi cutting through a puddle. They all said the same thing. You need to forgive them. And somewhere in your chest, something tightened. Because forgiveness felt like surrender. Like walking back into the wreckage and handing them a trophy for burning you down. So you held the anger instead. And it felt like strength. It felt like a sword. It was not a sword. Picture a man named Daniel, 34 years old. He sits in his car every morning in the same parking garage downtown, under the same broken fluorescent light that flickers twice and then holds. He gets there 20 minutes early, not because he is eager, because his apartment still smells like her. The coffee she used to make. The specific shampoo that has no right to still be in the shower. He sits in that car, engine off, hands still on the wheel, and he runs the story again. What she did, what she said, the specific sentence she used that cracked something in him he has not been able to name since. He runs it because it feels like doing something. It feels like not letting go of evidence. Like if he keeps reviewing the case, eventually the verdict will change. 6 months of this. 6 months of that flickering light. 6 months of white-knuckle mornings before he even walks into a building. He was not holding on to the anger for protection. The anger was holding on to him. And it was eating every hour he had. That is what unforgiveness actually costs. Not the dramatic price. The daily one. The invisible toll it takes on your mornings, your sleep, your ability to sit in a room without your mind drifting back to the wreckage. Epictetus said this, and he said it with the calm certainty of a man who had once been a slave and chose not to let that define the borders of his inner world. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he is not, but rejoices for those which he has. Read that again slowly. He does not say forget. He does not say pretend it did not happen. He says, stop living inside the absence. Stop measuring your life by what was taken. Because the grief is real. The anger is real. But feeding it daily is a choice. And every morning you sit in that parking garage running the case file in your head, you are choosing to hand that person your morning. You are giving them the first hour of your day. For free. While they sleep. That is not justice. That is a sentence you are serving for their crime. But here is the part nobody talks about. Forgiveness is not about them at all. This is where the word breaks down. This is why it feels wrong when someone tells you to forgive. Because the word sounds like it travels outward. Like it is something you hand to the other person. A gift. A pardon. Absolution signed in your blood. No. Forgiveness is a door. And it faces inward. When you forgive, you are not saying what they did was acceptable. You are not rewriting history. You are not erasing the damage, or calling the wound a misunderstanding, or softening the truth of what happened. You are saying one thing, and one thing only. I am no longer willing to carry this. That is it. That is the whole act. You put the file down. Not because they deserve for you to put it down. Because you deserve to have your hands free. Marcus Aurelius wrote this while commanding armies, while governing millions, while watching people he trusted betray him in ways that would have collapsed a lesser man. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Not victory over them. Not public humiliation. Not a version of you that proves you are better. Become unlike the injury itself. Become someone the wound could not make bitter. Someone the loss could not make small. Someone who came through the fire and did not inherit the burn. That is the weapon. That is the thing that cost them the most and cost you nothing to use. Your wholeness. Your continued becoming. The fact that you woke up this morning and did not let what happened define the ceiling of what you are capable of. Now pay attention. This is the real lesson. Daniel eventually walked out of that parking garage and stopped running the case. Not because he forgave her in some dramatic moment. Not because he journaled his way to peace or said the words out loud to an empty room. He stopped one morning when he noticed the light had stopped flickering. And he thought, I have been sitting under a broken light for 6 months waiting for it to fix itself. He went inside. He did his work. He came home and cleaned the apartment. Not deep cleaning. Just enough to let the smell change. Small things. Practical things. The same kind of things Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal at the end of long, brutal days. Not grand philosophy. Just a man reminding himself to stop gripping what was already gone. Tonight, before the screen goes dark and the apartment goes quiet, and the city outside reduces to distant sirens and the hum of a refrigerator, write one sentence. Just one. Not about them. About what you are done carrying. Not what they took, not what you lost, what you were setting down. I am done spending my mornings in that parking garage. I am done letting this anger be the first thought I have when I wake up. I am done carrying weight for someone who is not here. One sentence, specific to you, honest enough that it costs you something to write it. That is not weakness. That sentence is the most aggressive thing you can do right now, because it takes back the one resource they have been stealing every single day without your permission. Your attention, your time, your capacity to be present in your own life. Forgiveness is not surrender. It is not grace. It is not kindness to the person who hurt you. It is a declaration. It is you standing in the wreckage, looking at the smoke, and saying, "This does not get another hour of me." That is not a gift you give to them. That is a weapon you turn toward your own future. Pick it up. The new you, the person the breakup was always trying to build. You picked it up. Now look at what is standing there, holding it. Picture a Renaissance workshop in Florence. Late evening, the year 1501. The smell of wet clay and turpentine hanging thick in the air. Candles burned almost to nothing. A young sculptor named Michelangelo stands in front of a block of marble that has been sitting in a cathedral yard for 26 years. Abandoned, considered ruined. Other sculptors looked at it and walked away because it had been cut wrong by the man before him, and everyone agreed the damage was too deep to work around. Michelangelo did not walk away. He pressed his hand flat against the cold stone and felt where the life was hiding inside it. He said later that the sculpture already existed inside the marble. His job was not to create it. His job was to remove everything that was not David. That block of marble sat in a yard for 26 years because someone could not see what it was supposed to become. You have been in that yard. You have been standing in the cold, in public, looking like damage. Looking like a mistake someone started and could not finish. And maybe you believed it. Maybe you told yourself the story that the crack in you went too deep, that the wrong cuts had already been made, that you were too far gone to become something worth standing in front of. That story ends here. The breakup did not break you into something lesser. It broke you out of something smaller. That relationship, whatever it gave you, whatever real love was buried inside it, was also a container, a shape that you had started fitting yourself into. You bent your mornings around their schedule. You swallowed things to keep the peace. You learned which version of yourself made them comfortable, and you performed that version so consistently that you started forgetting you had others. That is not love's fault. That is not even their fault. That is what long closeness does. It narrows you, slowly, without you noticing, the way a river carves a canyon. Beautiful process. Invisible until the damage is already done. But here is the part nobody talks about. The narrowing was not permanent. The marble was not ruined. It just had bad cuts in it that needed to be worked around. And the sculptor who could see what it was supposed to become had not arrived yet. That sculptor is you, right now, standing in the rubble of the last version of your life with a tool in your hand and nowhere left to hide. Epictetus wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." He was not a wealthy man handing out calm advice from a comfortable chair. He was a freed slave, a man whose body had been broken deliberately by another man who owned him. When he wrote about reaction, he was writing from the floor. He was writing from wreckage. He was writing as a person who had nothing left except the one freedom no one could reach inside his chest and rip out. His response, his direction, his next step, that is all you have right now. And it is everything. Because the new version of you is not waiting on the other side of healing like a reward you collect when the pain finally stops. That is the wrong image. The new version of you is being built from the pain itself, brick by brick, decision by decision. Every morning you got up when you did not want to. Every day you did not send the message. Every night you wrote the sentence and set something down. You were already building. You just did not know that was what you were calling it. Think about what this season forced out of you. You learned where your limits were. Not the comfortable version you told yourself about. The version that sounds good in conversations. The real limits. The ones you hit at 2 in the morning when no one was watching and you were still standing. You learned which friends were furniture and which ones were walls. Furniture looks good. Walls hold the ceiling up. You know now who the walls are. You learned something about silence. That it does not kill you. That sitting inside an empty apartment does not hollow you out the way you feared. That you can survive your own company. That is not a small thing. Most people never learn it. Most people run from that silence their entire lives and never stop long enough to find out what they are actually made of. Now you know. And here is where it gets dangerous. Because the temptation right now, when the pain starts lifting, when you start breathing again, is to take all of this raw new material and pour it straight back into someone else. To find another container to fill. To call that progress because it feels better than sitting alone. Do not do that. Not yet. The David was not finished in a day. Michelangelo worked on that stone for 2 years. He could have rushed it. He could have stopped when it looked like something. He kept going until it looked like everything it was supposed to be. You are not finished yet. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal, a private document, a book he never intended for anyone else to read. Confine yourself to the present. Not the past version of you that stayed too long and said too little. Not the future version of you that will have it all together. The present one. The one reading this sentence. The one still a little raw, still a little uncertain, still carrying the outline of someone else in the space where they used to stand. That version, right now, is the one doing the work. And the work is the point. The relationship ended. Something inside it was already broken long before the last conversation. You felt it. You probably felt it for months before the end. That low-grade hum of something wrong that you kept turning the music up to drown out. The breakup was not the disaster. The breakup was the diagnosis. It told you, this container was too small. This version of your life was not moving in the direction your life was supposed to move. Something had to give, and it did. Now you are standing in the workshop, the cold stone in front of you, the chisel in your hand, and you have something Michelangelo did not have when he started. You already know what David looks like. You have felt him moving inside you during this whole season. In the moments of clarity between the grief. In the mornings you made a decision you were proud of. In the days you acted like the person you want to be, even while the person you used to be was still falling apart. That is not inspiration. That is a blueprint. Follow it. Not because the pain is over. Not because you are healed. Not because some podcast told you it was time to rise. Because you are already rising. Whether you can see it or not. Whether it feels like it or not. The marble does not feel itself becoming the statue. It just endures the chisel and holds its shape. You have been holding your shape this entire time. Now stop surviving it and start building it. On purpose. With intention. With the full weight of everything you learned about yourself in the dark. The new you was not born the day the relationship ended. The new you was born every single day after that, when you chose to keep going anyway. Subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And I will see you in the next one.